Hey, good morning guys. Ed Froelich with the First Time Gardener back at you. I wanted to bring you a short video on getting ready for our potato sets that we're going to be putting in the ground in about 2 weeks. And I just went in my pantry. I was looking at the potatoes I had in there, and we like red skin potatoes. That's pretty much our staple. I mean, we do the russet potatoes or Idaho, whatever you want to call them. Usually when we just have a steak, but as far as our main potato use for for stews and just boiled potatoes or baked potatoes or whatever, we like the red skins. So anyway, you can see I have some red skins here that I came out of the pantry and I wanted to go over a couple things with you on these potato sets. Now these are potatoes store-bought that we had in the pantry, and we haven't used them up in time, and they are starting to sprout. I like to get them, some of these are a little farther along, but I like to get them when they're just starting to get little eyes on them, and to bring them out in these trays and to grow them. But a couple of them have been in there a while, and you can see they have these long, leggy, white eyes that have grown. And there's no color to them because they were growing in the dark in the pantry. Now this one I cut in half, and you can see the bottom over here. This was done a couple days ago. And before you're planting these, you can cut these potatoes in half if they have more than one section of eyes. But when you do, you want to make sure that you cure that potato, and by curing I mean just leave it out in the air, circulated by air, so that that bottom that you just cut can harden over and not be wet. So if you would cut this potato right in half, stick it in the ground, you know, you got like a 10% chance that it will grow. Normally they rot or the bugs get into it. So if you harden off the potato as you cut them, here's another one. This is the other half of the one that I cut too. So you can feel it. It's all nice and dry. It's kind of skinned over. So that would be ready for planting. So we're not ready to plant for a couple weeks yet. But I wanted to bring you this video here and show you how we prepare our potatoes. Now, the amount of potatoes I have here for the area that I'm going to plant outside is not enough. But when I get ready to plant them, I'm going to plant these first. And online, I'm going to order some ones that are already kind of budded like this here. They're called seed potatoes, and they will come like this here. And I don't mind that. Once I order them, they take about a week to get here, and I don't mind that because I want to plant these in succession about a week apart, maybe 2 weeks apart from each other in that whole area, so that they all don't come ripe at one time. So that's my thought. So right now I just have them in a, this is kind of the top of my grow bins. That you can use this part on top of there to act as a greenhouse effect when you're growing them. But at this point I want to take them out of the dark. I want to keep them in the house. We keep our temperature 70 something degrees, 73, 74, which is perfect. They're cool. They're not going to grow real fast. If you put them outside, say on the porch, these things are going to sprout really quick in the heat. And I don't want that. I want them to mature and I want them to start growing, but I want them to start growing slow. I don't want them to bolt out and get real long, leggy eyes. So anyway, we're just starting these now. And then I'm going to come back and show you these before we put them in the ground, which is going to be about 2 weeks. And I'm putting them right here on the edge of the table. They get windows here where you get plenty of sunlight. It's in the temperature, controlled temperature inside of 70 some degrees. So they're not 80, 90 degrees. We don't want that yet. We want the temperatures outside, we've had really hot temperatures, like in the high 90s, 98, 99 degrees with a heat index of 105 to 110. So potatoes do not like the really, really hot heat. They like a cool temperature, cool to cold, but not freeze. If you live in an area where you do have the tendency of getting frost or freeze, you definitely want to make sure you cover them up if they're in the ground to help protect them. I did that last year here. I live in North Florida, north central Florida, so we do get a hard freeze once or twice over the winter time. It's usually just one day. We never get usually 2 days straight of hard freeze here. We just don't have that type of weather. So last year I went out and I covered them with the blankets. In the garage I have a stack of old blankets that I keep handy just for that reason. Covered them up and they did just fine. So the other thing is, like, when we get ready to put them in the ground, if you see on this one here, you have eyes that are on the top here, and you have an eye that's right here and an eye on this side. So typically when this is ready to go, you could actually separate that and cut this in half, and then you would have two eyes on this half and these eyes here on this half. But like I said, if you did cut that in half, you'd want to wait 3 or 4 days before you put that in the ground. You want that fresh cut potato that's moist and leaking, you want that to skin over so that it doesn't become infested with bugs or just sit there in the ground and rot, and you're not going to get anything out of the potato. So if you have smaller egg-sized potatoes, something like this size here, sort of an egg size, maybe golf size, you can use an empty egg carton and set them in the egg cartons to grow. Just make sure that you put your main seedlings, the eyes that you want them to grow, make sure you're pointing them up so that they grow up. Now this one again has eyes on the back side too. And there's a direction of the potato too. There's a top and a bottom. Now this is the bottom side, and you can see that little root there. That's where the potato was attached to the tuber that it grew once. And then this is the bottom or the top of the, whichever one you want to call it. But this is where it was attached. And then this is where it just grew out to their point. So it doesn't matter which end you do, just make sure whatever eyes you have popping up that they're facing up. So if you would cut this one in half, you just put this half facing up, turn this one so this is facing up, and we're going to see if that eye develops. So if you have multiple eyes on these potatoes, you know, I could literally double the amount of potato putting them in the garden. If I could cut each one of these in half, you'd have double the potatoes. And normally when you order seed potatoes, when you go down to your feed and seed stores, usually a lot of times they have them in bins. Unfortunately, I don't have any of those around here, so I'm going to order mine online. And they usually come in just like this or a little less. Like the eyes are just starting to open. These are growing a little bit. And the same thing, you take them out of the sack that it comes in. If they don't have any of this little growth on there, you might want to leave it in the sack in a cool, dark place until they just start popping like this. And that's when you want to take them out of the dark and you want to put them in here, because these were in the dark, like this one was in the dark too long. And you can see that that's white. It's not really what you want. Now, if you have other eyes coming on here, you can pop this off and wait for the other eyes to go, but I'm going to see if this will turn darker. It will grow if you put it in the ground. I mean, I've done it before, but the ideal is to have them a dark color, not so light, and you don't want them too leggy. You just want like little buds when you plant them. All right, that's all I got for you for this video. I just want to let you know what I'm prepping. These are going to go in the ground in 2 or 3 weeks from now. I'm going to leave them right here on the table in the sunlight. And then I'm ready. If in 2 weeks. If these are ready to go in, I could put them in the ground in 2 weeks. I think I'll be ready for them then. But anyway, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your support on this new channel that we are growing. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section. And I like the questions y'all bringing too. If you had a question of how I did something, I might not have explained it enough in the video. So anyway, subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed yet. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it, and it helps the video push out for YouTube. And until we see you next time, happy gardening, stay safe, God bless, and we'll see you on the next one.